I heard that Coach K has some new bulletin board material that he's going to be putting up, like Andre Dawkins can't guard me, Kyrie Irving can't guard me, Kyle Singler. I mean,
we're going to have signs about him, too, that he looked like a rat.
Oh! That's what we just said!
Welcome to Columbus, Ohio, and Value City Arena. Most of the year, this is the home to the Ohio State Buckeyes. But tonight, it provides the backdrop for high school basketball's most anticipated annual event. Welcome to the McDonald's All-American Game. Their images are synonymous with basketball greatness throughout the world. They were among a chosen few once selected to star on high school basketball's biggest stage. Tonight, we introduce you to the images and faces of tomorrow, to the names that you will come to recognize in years to come. Those chosen to represent the next generation of basketball greatness, while first representing the class of 2010 tonight. Welcome to the 33rd McDonald's High School All-American Game. Welcome to Columbus and the showcase for the future stars of college basketball. It's the 2010 McDonald's High School All-American Game. We're here at Value City Arena, normally the home of the Buckeyes, but tonight the home of the stars of the future. And alongside one of the stars of the past, I'm Bob Wischusen, Jay Williams, star at Duke, and also once played in this game. A stroll down memory lane for you, so to speak, this week.
It has been. It's been great to be here to see these kids interact. But the most important reason why we are here, these kids got a chance to go to the Ronald McDonald House and really get a chance to sit down with kids who are less fortunate than them. It really truly shows how blessed they are to be an opportunity that they're having today.
You mentioned being blessed. I would have to think that Roy Williams is sitting at home feeling pretty blessed tonight as he gets ready to play in the NIT championship game. But obviously he's got Harrison Barnes coming to Chapel Hill next week as the #1 prospect in our ESPNU Top 100, and Kyrie Irving, also a very interesting point guard as well out of New Jersey. Those two will go against each other on Tobacco Road, but how about the skills of Harrison Barnes?
Well, he's exceptionally skilled. Being 6'8", 215, he attacks the basket with such gracefulness. It's unbelievable the way he can attack the rim and finish over the top of his defenders. Also, Kyrie Irving, St. Patrick's of New Jersey. A lot of people have talked about him being the greatest point guard to ever come out of the state of New Jersey. I'm excited to see this young man play tonight.
Now, those are two players that have committed to where they're going to school next season. We know where Harrison Barnes and Kyrie Irving will play, but there are plenty of players tonight who are still very much up in the air, and Quinn Kesnick has more on that.
Bob, there are 7 players in this game who are uncommitted. They're undecided. And for them, the waiting game continues. It's really unprecedented. They're waiting for 2 things. They're waiting for the coaching carousel to stop. They're also waiting for the big dogs in college right now to declare for the NBA draft. Guys like John Wall and Evan Turner. And when they make their move, the dominoes will start to fall, because all these guys out here tonight want immediate playing time at the next level. And some of the best you're going to see who remain uncommitted. Brandon Knight is a guy coming out of Pinecrest School in Florida, #3 right now on the ESPNU 100. He's a guard. And then Josh Selby, #7 on the ESPNU 100, a guard out of Baltimore Lake Clifton. And he put on a show on Monday night, Selby winning the slam dunk contest. But Bob, in many ways, a lot of mystery and intrigue. You got 7 players who are uncommitted.
Quint, certainly something we'll be keeping our eyes on. Corey Joseph, another player who we are still waiting to see what his decision will be. The 2010 edition of the McDonald's All-American Game. In a moment, we'll have the starting lineups and the tip right after this.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the McDonald's High School All-American Game is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Welcome back to Value City Arena here in Columbus. Just about set for game time between the West and the East in the 2010 McDonald's High School All-American Game. As we take a look at the starting lineups, first of all for the West, and Jay Williams, Brandon Knight is the highest rated uncommitted player, and he'll be a point guard.
Well, obviously he's waiting to see what John Wall is going to do, but 6'4", 195, averaging around 33 points a game. excited to see him attack the rim. He does it like the best in the country.
And another player that caught your eye this week was Ray McCallum, top of your screen there, also an undecided guard.
Well, his father was an assistant coach at Oklahoma very poised basketball player, plays the game with a mature level, has a great understanding how to attack and when to attack.
For the East, Deshaun Thomas is going to Ohio State along with Jared Sullinger. So they got a big hand when introduced to the crowd.
Well, Mr. Thomas might be the most prolific scorer in this game, averaging around 37 points per game. He should come in and fill it up if Evan Turner leaves for Ohio State.
How about Perry Jones, the center going to Baylor?
Some people say, and NBA scouts say, he's the most talented guy in the building. The only thing lacking is his mentality to dominate each and every possession. Very interested to see how he'll come out in the first couple of minutes and approach this game.
And we'll see how these two teams will settle in to start. Fab Melo, jump center in the red for the West. He's heading to Syracuse, and he'll square off with Jared Sullinger. This is Tobias Harris, and now inside it goes to Sullinger, and the future Ohio State product can't hit the first shot of the game, but the follow-up by Tobias Harris, who'll be playing for Bruce Pearl, Tennessee next year.
Well, Tobias Harris, yes, going to Tennessee, actually has been one of the most impressive players in these last couple of days of practice. He's always had a knack for the basketball and found ways to score, but very smooth. Bruce Pearl, again, a great addition to his team.
Harris comes up with the loose ball. Finds Irving in transition. The reverse by Kyrie Irving, will be playing your old position in Durham next season.
Well, Kyrie excelled at St. Patrick's in New Jersey and got a chance to talk to Kevin Boyle a couple months ago. He's the head coach for St. Patrick's. Actually said that he might be the best point guard to ever come out of the state of New Jersey. He plays the game at a slow man's pace, takes his time with the basketball, and does not try to force anything. Great addition on. Talk about if John Shire's going to leave Duke next year, going alongside Nolan Smith.
Deshaun Thomas the miss. Syracuse's next center, Fab Melo. Outlets to Harrison Barnes. Smile on the face of Tar Heel fans when they see Harrison Barnes in transition. Tobias Harris right back the other way, and the future Volunteer has four.
Tobias Harris is in such great shape. A couple years ago, he wasn't even the top 100 of the ESPNU top 100, okay? He lost 15 pounds, worked out continuously with his trainer at 5:30 in the morning, then went to school, got extra shots up after practice, then worked with the strength and agilities coach. And it's that kind of mentality and that work ethic that's going to make him an exceptional basketball player. His father, Terrell Harris, okay, was an agent that actually represented George Gervin, the Iceman. And George and Tobias are really good friends, and he actually tells him all the time about the harder you work, the more successful you'll be.
Weak side rebound put back by Doron Lamb, who's number 25 in our ESPNU top 100. And Terrance Jones able to intercept. Tobias Harris the rebound, outlets to Kyrie Irving. Eventually, Deshaun Thomas's shot blocked underneath by Melo. Knight, no look to Lamb. Lamb uncommitted, as is Brandon Knight. Knight has Kentucky, Florida, Kansas, UConn, and Syracuse on his list. Doron Lamb has Kentucky, Kansas, Arizona, and West Virginia as possible schools he might attend. So Kentucky is on a lot of the lists of the 7 players that were still undecided coming into tonight.
Well, everybody's waiting to see what John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Patrick Patterson is going to leave. He graduated school in 3 years. Eric Bledsoe. They have a lot of guys thinking about leaving. Also, Daniel Orton is thinking about leaving as well. So a lot of guys waiting to the last minute to make that decision.
Harrison Barnes plus the foul. So Barnes with a chance for a three-point play, but here's Kyrie Irving in transition.
Well, just attacking the rim. And the thing I like about him the most, he does not try to play outside of himself. And then you see Harrison Barnes just silky smooth. A lot of people have compared him to Grant Hill with just the way he's able to glide to the basket. Very smooth, very poised. A lot of people talked about guards for Carolina this year. That was one of their Achilles heels. Larry Drew kind of struggled at times. Dexter Strickland was a freshman, still taking his time to understand the game. But they have 3 young men coming into that system next year. Kendall Marshall, Reggie Bullock, and Harrison Barnes. That could potentially start for this year's team.
Melo, another block as he rejects Harris. In the corner, though, knocking down at threes is Kyrie Irving. But a smile on the face, you'd have to think of Jim Boeheim when he sees Fab Melo make plays like that.
Fab Melo from Rio de Janeiro, from Brazil. Great footwork in the post. Grew up playing soccer.
Irving attacks. Melo called for the foul. At the other end, Terrance Jones was able to complete the layup, and he is one of those undecided players as well, but we know where Fab Melo's going. According to Paul Biancardi and the rest of the guys that do our recruiting for our ESPNU recruiting service, they think Fab Melo might be the best true center in this class, and Kyrie Irving they have listed as the second best point guard behind Brandon Knight as we take a look at his ESPN Rise profile.
Well, a lot of people ask me, who do you compare Kyrie Irving's game to as the people that went to Duke? And the thing I can say, he can score the basketball. It reminds me of myself the way he can score the basketball. He can score in spurts. He actually has an attribute that I didn't have, that Chris Duhon has a lot. He can control a team. He can understand time and situation and can deliver the ball at the right time. He's an extension of the coach on the floor.
Tried to feed one through to Reggie Bullock, and that was Duke to North Carolina that couldn't hit there.
That's why it didn't work.
It's funny, Kyrie Irving, I asked him, I said, what about the rivalry? You're alongside Reggie Bullock in the backcourt, but you're going to be playing against each other at Tobacco Road next season. I said, is the rivalry there? He said, well, I joked a little bit with Reggie and Kendall Marshall about the not invited tournament. So already the Duke-Carolina bad blood did develop between the players at practice this week. But
they're going to be seeing a lot of each other throughout the summer. Duke players usually go to Carolina and play, and it's the same with Carolina players. So they'll get acclimated to one another's games sooner enough.
Melo with the hit ahead intended for Harrison Barnes, out of bounds, and we have our first time out. What was the best McDonald's All-American class of all time? We'll look back at some of the greatest when we return to Columbus in just a moment. Welcome back to the McDonald's All-American game here in Columbus. These players might not be household names yet, but believe me, they certainly will be as we take a look back at some of the great players to have played in this game going back to 1979. Isaiah Thomas and Ralph Sampson. Michael in 1981, followed 3 years later by Danny Manning. Moving on through the 80s to D.C., Larry Johnson, Vince Carter, and Kevin Garnett in the 90s, along with Kobe Bryant. And then in this past decade, LeBron, Greg Oden, Kevin Durant. You can go to ESPN.com, search McDonald's, and vote on this Sports Nation question. We came down to these four classes. Which has been the best McDonald's All-American class ever? Alongside Jay Williams, and you were leaning towards 1979 during our break.
I mean, D. Wilkins, James Worthy, Isaiah Thomas, Ralph Sampson. That's a difficult class to beat. I mean, 95 was a good year now. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Vince Carter. That 79 class is my pick.
We already had that trivia question. I voted for 1979, too.
Okay, all right.
But just because I have a bald spot, I feel I owe something to the guys in 1979.
It's important that we're on the same page now. We're on the same team. We need to be on the same page.
Well, that question has been up at Sports Nation since the dunk contest and the three-point shootout on Monday night. So we do have some responses, and we'll get to the initial poll results a little bit later on in the game. But certainly you can get to ESPN.com and vote as well. And here's Kendall Marshall ahead of the field. Blocked from behind by Tristan Thompson. Thompson going to Texas, but goaltending is called. Kendall Marshall, future point guard at North Carolina, is credited with a pair.
And what I like about Kendall Marshall is that he is the best passer on the court right now. He played for Joe Wooten, the son of John Wooten, who the famous coach for DeMatha High School. And I got a chance to see Kendall play in high school at a huge game. And I watched them practice before the game. They had a 2-hour shoot-around. 2-hour shoot-around. And they went through, everything in the scouting report that was possible. Joe Wooten did a great job of preparing his team to get ready for this ball game, and he led them vocally through almost every drill. Kendall Marshall did a great job of directing, guiding, and leading, and that's an experience and a factor, an attribute that he's going to bring to the table next year for Roy Williams and UNC. Does a great job of being an extension of the coach on the court, and he makes simple plays. If that's what you want from your point guard, someone who does not try to force the issue. Now, he doesn't have the blazing speed like Ty Lawson, but he does have the ability to push the ball in transition and deliver the ball to the big man.
You saw his ESPN Rise profile. You can go to ESPN Rise, where high school athletes reach higher. Log on to the new ESPNRise.com for more information. Knocking down that jumper was Keith Appling going to Michigan State. And obviously it wasn't goaltending as they called a foul. Tie up inside by Patric Young. Heading to Florida to play for Billy Donovan as he got JayVaughn Pinkston on the way up.
And Patric Young next to Vernon Macklin next year will be a solid front court for Billy Donovan. The thing I like about Patric Young the most, he plays hard every possession. For someone his size, around 6'10", he gets after it continuously on the boards.
Rainbow three for Cory Joseph. The 5th best point guard and 21st overall prospect in our ESPN U Top 100. He won the three-point shootout. He is undecided out of Findlay Prep. The follow by another undecided prospect in C.J. Leslie from Holly Springs, North Carolina.
A lot of people are waiting to see what C.J. Leslie is going to do. He originally committed to NC State from North Carolina, originally went to the same high school that John Wall went to, so people were thinking he's going to lean that way to go to Kentucky.
Selby down the lane, and Josh Selby throws it down. He also is uncommitted. So you bring up what Quick Kesnick was talking about before the game. There are 7 players out of the 24 that we'll see tonight that aren't sure where they're heading to college yet.
You know, an interesting story about C.J. Leslie. He dominated in the state of North Carolina for a long time. Originally committed to NC State and Sidney Lowe pretty early in the process. And he said a lot of people, as he was walking down the street after he verbally committed, as he got better and better, people, NC State fans were saying, why are you going to NC State? You're a lot better at NC State. And I actually said it forced him to decommit out of NC State and reopen up the situation. And now people think he's leaning towards Kentucky.
Jereme Richmond going to Illinois next season with the finish. Pinkston heading to Villanova to play for Jay Wright. And Jay Wright will love to see a few three-point play opportunities from JayVaughn Pinkston. Thursday night, ESPN delivers more men's college basketball action. First at 7 Eastern, North Carolina will take on Dayton in the NIT championship game. And then at 9 Eastern, the 22nd annual State Farm College Slam Dunk and Three-Point Championship. The NIT title game and the State Farm College Slam Dunk and Three-Point Championship tomorrow night on ESPN.
And Jay Wright could have used JayVaughn Pinkston this year. One of the things they're lacking is a low post presence. And even though he's around 6'6", 6'7", he's 230. He does a great job of carving out space with the lower portion of his body. And he's a brute down on the boards. Him alongside Antonio Pina could be a dangerous front court.
Selby behind the back, and he'll go to the free throw line. I was talking to Josh Selby this week about where he thought he might go to school, and he has it narrowed down to Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona, and UConn. Now, we on ESPN on the 17th of April are going to carry the Jordan Brand Classic game from Madison Square Garden, and Josh Selby said he will make his announcement at halftime of that game as to where he's going. So if you're a fan of Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona, or UConn, or maybe you're just a fan of the SEC and you hope he doesn't end up in Kentucky, watch the Jordan Brand Classic, and at halftime we'll find out where Josh Selby's going to go. I think it's going to be you, myself, and Jimmy Dykes, right? Oh, that's a nice little trio. It's a nice little three-man weave right there. Joseph too strong. C.J. Leslie another rebound. Leslie tries to go coast to coast and draws the foul. Jereme Richmond going to Illinois. He is called for the personal. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Alonzo Mourning on my right-hand side, and we got a chance today to speak to the McDonald's All-Americans just about life and about making the right decision. And one of the things he preached about, you know, is something that really helped him stand out was his ability to play defense and to communicate and to sacrifice his body. He was one of the best in the game in the NBA at sacrificing his body. And you saw Richmond right there have a chance to take a charge. And that's something he was adamant about today. Sacrifice your body. You know, when you're in these games, the one thing I look for as an analyst, I want to see who's going to play hard. I want to see who's going to dive down on the ground for a loose ball. Yes, we're all talented, but are you going to do the little things to really differentiate yourself and set yourself apart? Little too strong by Keith Appling. Run down, though, by Tristan Thompson. And he hit the backboard looking for Richmond. Tristan Thompson was a teammate of Cory Joseph at Findlay Prep. Those two helped to combine on a 58-2 prep record the last couple of years, and last season won the high school national championship, and they'll have a chance to do the same again this year. Oh, Canada. I promised Chris Joseph I would sing the song on air. He wants me to represent Canada. That's what he represents, playing for the U19 Canadian national team. It's going to be scary what they're going to be in a couple of years. They have another kid who verbally committed to Texas, Mike Kabungo, who plays with St. Benedict's, Danny Hurley in New Jersey, another kid from Toronto. Timeout on the floor already. Highlights made by both sides. Josh Selby and C.J. Leslie combining on that highlight for the East in the McDonald's All-American game.
Ryan Burr with your Sports Center right now. Bakersfield, California District Attorney's Office says it will not file charges against Cardinal linebacker Joey Porter after his arrest on March 27th. Porter, they did not feel would be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. Other news, Pittsburgh signs their head coach Jamie Dixon to a 2-year contract extension running through 2018. That would end any speculation that the Panthers coach would be heading somewhere else. Guys?
All right, Ryan, thanks very much. The coaching carousel continues to move in college basketball, and that affects some of the prospects in the McDonald's All-American game. ESPN, we've lost some analysts. Steve Lavin's going to St. John's, and congratulations to Tim Welsh taking the head coaching job at Hofstra as well. Oregon still very much up in the air, and there are some guys in this game, Jay Williams, that could be affected by when and if some of those other decisions are made.
Well, it's interesting because it's a trickle-down effect for a kid in particular, Terrance Jones. You know, he's from around that area. He's waiting to see what's going to happen with the Oregon situation. And then you can see if the Oregon situation does turn out with Tubby Smith from Minnesota, that also could affect a guy like Cory Joseph, who's looking at Minnesota because his brother plays there, and DeVoe Joseph.
Sean Thomas came up short. Trying to go coast to coast was Ray McCallum. And then a block inside by Jared Sullinger, but a foul call. That'll be an unpopular whistle in this building, as Big Sully, as they call him, Jared Sullinger from Northland High School right here in Columbus. Ohio Mr. Basketball the past 2 years, and played for his dad, James Satch Sullinger, at Northland High School.
Got a chance to speak with him earlier, and I asked him, you know, you're following in the footsteps of a lot of good big men who are one and done to come to Ohio State and play. B.J. Mullins, Costa Koufis did it, Greg Oden. And I said, well, you know, why Ohio State? He said, well, my brother, J.J. Sullinger, played here a couple years ago and told me that Thad Matta is the best coach in the nation. And he'll work you, he'll make you be the best you can be every day in practice, and I want to be the best. And that's the reason I came to the Ohio State University.
34-1 in white will make up the two new forwards next season at Ohio State. There's Sullinger taking the feed from his future teammate Deshaun Thomas, then knocking down a three.
And that's what makes him so special. You put him in the system next year where you can do a pick and roll, and forget it, if Evan Turner comes back in a screen and roll scenario with his ability, Jared Sullinger's ability to shoot the basketball from deep, there's no way you can stop that in a screen and roll scenario.
One Buckeye to another again. Sullinger bowls over Fab Melo and scores. How about that bullet outlet pass from Deshaun Thomas? 5 quick ones for Jared Sullinger.
And that's the basketball IQ of Jared Sullinger. Understanding that he can just dip his shoulder a little bit and not extend the forearm to get that offensive foul. Just dip it enough and use that girth that he has to attack the rim. Very smart move.
Harrison Barnes, top overall prospect, according to Paul Biancardi, and our group at ESPN.com/basketball recruiting. Fab Melo feeds underneath, and the finish by Terrance Jones, the Oregon native from Portland. As we said, waiting to find out what's going to happen with the head coaching job with the Ducks. Tobias Harris, a rainbow three, and Harris heading to Tennessee next year connects.
Well, his father says that Tobias works harder than anybody he's known for a long time. And that kid is dedicated to becoming better. And the next step that he's going to get going to Tennessee playing for Bruce Pearl, he's going to fit in exceptionally well there. Scotty Hobson returning, Brian Williams returning as well. They're going to lose Wayne Chisholm, which is their force down low, but he's a guy that can space you on the perimeter and knock down the J.
Terrance Jones with a chance for a three-point play. And again, you can go to ESPN.com, search McDonald's, and take a look at some of the results we have of our poll questions up and vote yourself on who might be the greatest all-time class in McDonald's high school All-American history. Sean Thomas can't hit. Run down in the corner by Joe Jackson, the Memphis native, going to play for Josh Pastner with the Tigers. He fed Thomas underneath, and it was blocked by Fab Melo, who waves the finger in the air, saying no way. He's got 3 blocks. Trying to finish at the other end was Ray McCallum, and he couldn't. But Fab Melo there to clean up.
I think Ray McCallum is not used to missing dunks like that. I mean, he is a guy who can get up. He got up in a dunk contest.
Only 20% agree with us, the 1979, at least to this point. is the all-time greatest class. KG, Paul Pierce, Vince Carter, and Chauncey Billups right now lead the way.
We got to get some videotapes out to let these people start watching footage of that class.
Harrison Barnes to Terrance Jones off the backboard. Jones blows it, but Harrison Barnes there to clean up. Sullinger blocked. Another outlet. Harrison Barnes throws it down again. Barnes again.
So smooth. He's going to fit in so well with the Tar Heels.
Do you see him being more of a 2-guard, more of a 3, a combo player? How do you see Harrison Barnes fitting in?
He's very versatile. He's a guy that can play the 2, he can play the 3. Kendall Marshall is going to run the point. You can see Dexter Strickland maybe being a little bit more of an off guard and an attack guard. He's a guy that can play the 3. He can post up small defenders. He also can take the ball on the perimeter, put it down on the ground. Has a great back to the basket move as well. Kind of like an NBA player. He can work it down. He can shoot fadeaways. Just very smooth in his approach to the game of basketball.
And he can play the saxophone, as you can see in our ESPN Rise player profile on Harrison Barnes, #1 in our ESPN U100. He played in the marching band at Ames High School in 9th and 10th grade. And still, to kind of kill time at times to relax away from basketball, he plays the saxophone. And Quinn Kesnick has more.
Yeah, spending time with Harrison this week. First thing, extremely smart, bright young man, unselfish and modest, but through it all, he burns bright. I mean, this kid has tremendous intensity and hunger. I asked him about the Carolina season. Said he admits it was challenging, filled with adversity, but he thinks he's confident next year that it'll make them better in the long run.
McCallum throws it down off the steal, but you're right, Quinn. Harrison Barnes has been an academic all-conference selection in Iowa 3 out of his 4 years in high school, and you have to have a 3.25 GPA or better to be an academic all-conference selection, as Deshaun Thomas gets a dunk of his own.
And there's no doubt that Harrison Barnes has the talent to be a phenom on the college level. The next step for him is his mentality. He has to start demanding the basketball. I think at times he gets a little complacent just with people waiting to give him the basketball. But as he gets into North Carolina, as he figures out the system, there's no doubt in my mind that he has the ability to be a dominant basketball player on the collegiate level.
Tobias Harris going to Tennessee. The tip in of Jarrett Sullinger's miss. Future Volunteer has 11 here in the first half. Brandon Knight, the best uncommitted prospect, misses from deep. There's Terrance Jones, though, on the offensive glass.
Follow up by 1, Terrance Jones. Timeout called by the West.
Timeout on the floor, as the West calls one of their 2 timeouts. A 3-point lead for the West. Terrance Jones still deciding between Kentucky, Oklahoma, UCLA, West Virginia, Washington, and Oregon. And coverage of the ESPN Rise Boys National High School Invitational continues Friday on ESPN2 with both semifinal games. First at noon Eastern, Montverde Academy will take on Montrose Christian. Christ School and Winter Park will do battle. Oak Hill and Mountain State Academy and Findlay Prep and Charlotte Christian will get together all on ESPNU, and then Friday at noon and Friday at 2 p.m. on ESPN2 we'll have the semifinals of the ESPN Rise Boys National High School Invitational Semifinals.
For 27 years.
Well, you talk about getting your frequent flyer miles. Chris Joseph and Tristan Thompson, 2 kids actually play for Findlay Prep. They have a game tomorrow night. So as soon as this game is over, they're on the first flight out tomorrow morning to get to the team. But both of these young men, very down-to-earth, humble players on the basketball court. And Cory Joseph in particular, the best shooter, I think, in this class. He won a 3-point shooting contest. And he plays for the U19 national Canadian team, along with Andy Routledge, who also played for the Canadian national team. But his brother, DeVoe Joseph, played at Minnesota. You can see a little recruiting going on there if Tubby Smith is able to stay. And also his cousins are Chris Joseph of Syracuse and also Chris Joseph's brother, Maurice Joseph of Vermont. So I say this Canadian basketball thing, I tell you, Steve Nash is really happy because the Canadians are starting to dominate the sport.
Cory Joseph, number 5 there in red, right behind number 3 in red, Ray McCallum. But Cory Joseph listed, according to Paul Biancardi and our ESPN recruiting group at ESPN.com/basketball recruiting, won the 3-point contest, number 21 overall in our ESPNU Top 100, 5th rated point guard. And he still has Texas on his list, as you mentioned, as well, because his partner in crime, Tristan Thompson, is going to go to Texas. He's already committed to play for Rick Barnes, so Cory Joseph said he hasn't really set an exact date as to when he's going to make a decision. But, of course, the National Signing Day is coming up in about 2.5 weeks.
Well, you know, you had the injury to Doge Valbay. Had a very painful knee injury. He had to sit out. People have been wondering what's been going on with Jay Lucas at Texas. Is a little bit inconsistent. Avery Bradley's probably going to go to the NBA. And that could be a good fit for him. The question for them is going to be down low. Dexter Pittman leaves and Damian James goes to the NBA as well.
Jelan Kendrick going to Memphis as part of what might turn out to be one of the best, if not the best, recruiting classes in the country for Josh Pastner next season. Joe Jackson playing in tonight's game as well, going to Memphis. And they'll be joined by Will Barton, a 6'6" guard who's a fifth-year senior, much like John Wall was last season. Barton will play in the Jordan Brand Classic that we'll have for you on ESPN coming up on April 17th at the Garden, but not eligible to play in the McDonald's All-American game, or else he would be here as well.
And Will Barton has a never-ending motor. I mean, he continuously goes and scraps. A dominant player Josh Pastner is going to get. And that Memphis team, they said that Joe Jackson was the one player that they needed to get more importantly than anybody else. He brought the street cred to Memphis. And after him, Tariq Black, a 6'8", 230 power forward, fouled as well.
Timeout on the floor. When we come back, we'll go back to Monday night's Jam Fest and give you the top throwdowns from the McDonald's All-American game. There were some good ones. Welcome back to the 2010 McDonald's High School All-American game here in Columbus. A couple of nights ago was the Powerade Jam Fest. And our next question at ESPN.com, search McDonald's. Who had the best dunk of the night? Ray McCallum, not bad. A little windmill off the bounce. Perry Jones III on the list as well. 360. Jay Williams was there to take in this contest, and there was some athleticism. How about Patric Young heading to Florida?
Well, he dunked the ball so hard, and this is my favorite part after he dunks it. He does the clap. There you go. And he said he got booed. He said, I don't care about being booed. I bring the pain.
Now, Josh Selby went between the legs.
Well, I had to give him a new nickname. I called him Showtime Selby the other day. Yeah, I mean, he put on a show. Some of the things he's able to do at that height at 6'2" was amazing.
Those are your 4 candidates, and you can go to ESPN.com, search McDonald's. Our Sports Nation poll, who had the best dunk during the 2010 Powerade Jam Fest dunk contest.
It's funny, today during shoot-around, I walked over to Josh Selby and I said, now, I saw on the program that they have you listed as 6'4", but I'm standing next to you right now. You only seem about 6'2". Maybe 6'1.5", 6'2". He's like, you know how it is, Jay Will. It's all about the program height. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, we in the business call that the media guide measurements. You guys all seem to grow about 3 inches.
It always helps to stretch just a little bit before you take the media guide height.
Jereme Richmond will be playing for Bruce Weber at Illinois next season. In our ESPNU Top 100, the 4th-ranked small forward and 23rd-ranked player overall. Drawing some Scottie Pippen and Grant Hill comparisons. Pretty good players to be compared to.
Well, I asked him who does he compare himself to the most, and he said, I like to compare myself to a poor man's Kevin Durant. I said, wow, that's a huge comparison. He said, hey, listen, I have high expectations on myself, as he should.
As should Billy Donovan to see Patric Young in Florida next year. JayVaughn Pinkston on the drive. The follow by C.J. Leslie.
He's so special. He's so long. He's so active. A lot of people question, does he bring the right kind of mentality on the court? You know, is he really going to be focused? But with the right coach, with the right situation, he could be an absolute star on a collegiate level. There's no doubt in my mind. He could be a star. He has all the tools in the toolbox. The question is, can he put it all together?
And the top-ranked center in America, Josh Smith, heading to the free throw line. He'll be at UCLA to play for Ben Howland next year. And C.J. Leslie, talking to him yesterday, you shake his hand. He doesn't have, I want to say, the biggest hands I've ever seen. He's got the longest hands I've ever seen. You can see from an athletic standpoint in the open court how good he can be, but from a ball skills standpoint around the rim, those hands are weapons as we take a look At our ESPN Rise player profile for Josh Smith, who's had a lot of weight fluctuations trying to get ready to play for Ben Howland next year.
He has. He said, a couple months ago he got his tonsils taken out and he couldn't eat, so he lost 35 pounds in 3 weeks. But then he had that knee injury, so he added all that weight back on. If he loses weight and starts to kind of chisel that body up, he'll be a dominant force down low. And he understands how to carve out space on the low blocks. And like you said, with those hands, they are weapons. You can zip a pass in there, and he's going to have the good enough hands to catch it.
Nice look underneath. Richmond thrown back by Leslie.
Leslie just coming from the weak side. That's that length and athleticism we were talking about before. Can't let him get out of the state of North Carolina. Sidney Lowe needs him to get to NC State.
Norm Person, one of the coaches for the East team, told us that CJ is as good as he has seen in the open court. I mean, of all the players that he'd even seen this week, he might be the best. Here's Selby. A little bit short on that floater. The other way comes Keith Appling. Blocked and taken away by Kendall Marshall. Marshall hands off to Leslie.
Number 5, C.J. Leslie.
Once again, that's Kendall Marshall just making the simplistic bounce, the simplistic pass in the break. That's what he does exceptionally well. He's not going to be a showtime guy. He's not going to give you a behind-the-back pass or between-the-legs pass. He's going to keep it simple and just deliver the basketball and run your team.
Tristan Thompson traveled. Well, C.J. Leslie, if he chooses to go to NC State, might see a lot of time with Kendall Marshall, as Marshall's going to North Carolina. But out of Word of God Christian Academy in Holly Springs, a bunch of schools still on his list. Yesterday, he said that Kentucky, NC State, Florida, and UConn were still the front runners.
I think somebody else in the building went to Word of God Christian Academy. Am I correct? A point guard that
they didn't play in this game.
Yeah, but might be the first pick in the draft this year.
Selby bounces one, going for a little too much showtime, and Jelan Kendrick couldn't haul it in.
They don't call him Showtime for nothing.
It's an all-star game. Get it out of your system now, because Josh Pastner's not going to want to see that next year.
So you think there's some inside recruiting going on with John Wall and C.J. Leslie?
I think there's inside recruiting going on with all these
Everybody.
guys.
Joshua Smith was telling me he's trying to recruit Ray McCallum and Terrance Jones pretty hard. Both of those guys are on his list.
Josh Smith going to UCLA, and McCallum and Jones both have UCLA on their list. 3 rims out for Kendall Marshall. And out of the scrum comes Appling. Fades away and knocks it down. And check that, Josh Selby. Selby with 9 here in the first half.
Josh Selby originally committed to Tennessee, but felt that he rushed the whole situation and decided to decommit. Actually did it, the new age kind of kills me. He did it via Facebook. I mean, his mother made the call, but also he posted it on Facebook, and that's how everybody found out. Reopened the doors, obviously, to a lot of different schools. And now I think a lot of his decision is going to be based upon Eric Bledsoe. If Eric Bledsoe decides to leave Kentucky, he might end up going to Kentucky as well with Brandon Knight.
Speaking of leaving, we'll see if John Wall decides to do just that. The Naismith Award finalists, SEC Player of the Year on hand. We'll see 10 new players in the game when we come back.
Brian Burns studio coming up at the half. I'll be joined by Doug Gottlieb. The Final Four is set for Saturday. Could the NCAA tournament expansion be in the very near future? Plus, Kobe and LeBron both playing the McDonald's game, and they're in action tonight. MVP may be on the line. We got full highlights coming up at the half. Guys, we'll see you then.
Well, Ryan, there are some great players in the building tonight. This Kentucky trio, Bledsoe, Wall, and Cousins, were hoping to be in the Final Four but fell short. Another player that was hoping to be in the Final Four but fell short here in his home building, standing by with Quinn Kesnick.
Evan Turner, Ohio State Buckeyes, first-team All-American. How do you best describe the run that you guys were able to make into the Sweet 16?
I think, it's a great run. We fell short of our goals of going to the Final Four, but, it's still a great run. We had, we won the Big Ten Conference, won the Big Ten Tournament Championship, and, we played together. We had a lot of great memories, and everybody played tough.
One of the themes of our show, there's 7 uncommitted McDonald's All-Americans. They're waiting on guys like you What's the time frame for your decision, whether you come back to school or head to the NBA?
I'm going to see my mom this weekend, and we're going to talk and, maybe make a decision. But, right now, just enjoying, spring quarter, going to class, being around my teammates.
It's a good decision to have to make.
Yeah, definitely. It could always be worse, but, definitely I'm trying to make the right decision, just follow my heart.
You've been fending off autograph seekers all night. Sullinger, another local guy out of Columbus, gonna be a Buckeye next year. What's impressed you about his game?
Man, I just think he's just so talented. It's like an old school type player. He hits the offensive boards. He has soft hands. He has dribbling ability. He's just a great guy. And I mean, if I stay, he'll be a great asset to the team. And he's just a great kid.
We were talking about the overall tenor of this game, kind of businesslike.
Yeah, these kids are going at it. They're really setting the tone, and there's great players out here. And I honestly think the NCAA is going to be really good when these guys join their team. So it's going to be fun.
Evan, congratulations on a great year. Good luck to you, and hopefully maybe a little more hardware coming your way this weekend.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Bob.
All right, Quinn, thanks very much. There's Jared Sullinger. You think Thad Matta and a few Buckeyes fans are starting to have visions of grandeur for next season if somehow that young man decides to come back and join Jared Sullinger and Deshaun Thomas for Ohio State next year?
Well, if he comes back, they might be the preseason favorite. They'll be unbelievable with the amount of talent they'll have on the court. Deshaun Thomas, a guy that can spread out the offense, can shoot the ball from deep, also can slash the basket with extreme athletic ability, can finish over the top of people. But there's no doubt in my mind, I've been saying it pretty much all year, Evan Turner is a National Player of the Year. I mean, for somebody with his size to be able to dribble the way he can dribble the basketball, make passes, he kind of reminds me of Penny Hardaway with his ability to get into the lane. Now, one of the things he's going to need to work on is his jump shot on the next level to space out the defense, because I think certain people are going to go underneath the high screen and roll. But his ability at that height to find people to make his teammates better and to deliver the ball at the right time and also to attack is one that I don't think anybody in college basketball has this year.
Kyrie Irving playing center field, missed a three. Intercepts the pass, and a little ball fake from the future Duke point guard, Kyrie Irving. Harrison Barnes comes back the other way. North Carolina star of the future. Can't hit. Irving back behind the back, and a quick touch pass from Joe Jackson. The finish by Tobias Harris, who has 13 here in the first half.
Well, both Kyrie Irving and Joe Jackson love to pass the basketball, make their teammates look good. Kyrie, that's an attribute that he brings to the table, and that's why guys enjoy playing with him. Whenever you have a guard that's willing to give the ball up and not think of himself first, that's the definition of a true point guard. That's what Kyrie Irving brings to the table.
Ron Lamb collects a jumper from the corner. He has 6. Lamb still considering Kentucky, Kansas, Arizona, West Virginia. He is undecided at this point. 4th-ranked shooting guard in our ESPNU Top 100. Spin move inside by Deshaun Thomas. Blocked on the way up by Terrance Jones. And the possession arrow will keep it with the East.
Kyrie just on a little break, a little ball fake behind the back, and the smooth little lay-in. And also, in transition, he gives it up to Mr. Jackson, and Jackson delivers to Mr. Harris for the flush.
Joe Jackson was fun to talk to yesterday as well, number 4 in white, about the fact that he had decided to stay home and play for Josh Pastner at Memphis. I asked him, when John Calipari left, a lot of people thought that really might damage the ability of Memphis to get the big recruiting classes in his immediate wake. And Josh Pastner comes in and gets arguably the best recruiting class in the country. Thursday night, ESPN delivers more men's college basketball action, 1 to 7 Eastern. North Carolina takes on Dayton in the NIT, and then at 9 Eastern, the 22nd annual State Farm College Slam Dunk and 3-point championship.
That's what makes Harrison Barnes special. He can do things off the dribble and make plays.
Irving takes it away from Fab Melo, and the finger roll is good. McCallum, and the follow inside by Terrance Jones, and a quick timeout called by Norm Person over on the East bench. 10 points in the first half for the undecided Terrance Jones.
Terrance Jones is 6'9", but he has a 7'4" wingspan. He's so long, and he gets after it defensively. See the little hesitation right here, and Ray throws it up there, but Terrance goes and gets it with that explosion. I think he's going to be great whatever system he fits into. He's going to obviously wait to see what's going to go on with the Oregon situation. A lot of people are talking about Tubby Smith from Minnesota maybe going to Oregon. I asked him today, how's that going to affect your decisions? I'm going to wait to see what happens with the Oregon position before I make a decision at all. But schools like Washington, UCLA, Oklahoma, and Kentucky still in his choice.
If you'd like even more information on Terrance Jones and a lot of the rest of the players tonight in the McDonald's All-American game, you can go to ESPN Rise, where high school athletes reach higher. Log on to the new ESPNRise.com for more information.
One of the things I got a chance to talk to a couple of GMs that were watching these kids practice the other day, and one of the things they're looking for is how hard are these kids going to play. Yes, this is a McDonald's All-American game. It's an all-star game. But they're watching these kids' mentalities. Do they stay after workouts? Do they shoot around? Do they get there early? How do they compose themselves on the court? All things that scouts watch, because they know that eventually they're going to have to draft not only good kids for their athletic ability, but they want good character kids as well.
A fun first half. Lots of points, some highlight plays as well. It's halftime in the McDonald's All-American game. An 8-point lead at the break for the East. Ryan Burr back in our studios with Doug Gottlieb, the Sports Center halftime report.
We would like to present this year's Boys Naismith Sportsmanship.
Thanks, Bob. 8-point game at the half, 59-51. Welcome into the halftime report. Ryan Burr and Doug Gottlieb, and defense optional in the first half. But it is
a little bit of defense there.
It is an all-star game. So much talent on the floor. A couple guys that you really think could be a difference maker wherever they end up next year.
Well, we're going to see North Carolina tomorrow night in the NIT Finals, and I think Harrison Barnes, he had 15 points in the first half, but he's also not it's not a selfish 15. He's not a pig, if you will. And when you consider the bevy of talented Tar Heels that are going to come back next year, and you add in this type of perimeter talent, and frankly, that's what's been missing for Roy Williams' team, is someone on the perimeter who can handle, who can pass, who can shoot. He can play multiple positions. I think Harrison Barnes is going to have a dramatic impact on North Carolina immediately, maybe even if he doesn't average 15 points a game. And then the other guy who I'm looking forward to playing at the college level, you heard him described appropriately as an old school type player, Jared Sullinger, Sully as he's known on the AAU circuit, 6'8", 6'9", big body, a true low post player with true low post moves. Ryan, so often we see players that are 6'8", 6'9", coming out of high school, and everybody wants to be Kevin Garnett. Everybody wants to handle at the top of the key. But Sully can put his big rump down low and score in the low block, and there's so few players who can do that. I can't wait to see him in Ohio State uniform.
Entertaining first half, although Craig Collins, the former Penn Stater who set that free throw record, he'll be able to sleep well tonight. It doesn't look like that free throw record will be in jeopardy anytime soon. A lot more still to come on the halftime report. When we come back, we get you set for the Final Four this week, and maybe not the Final Four your brackets predicted, but nonetheless, these four teams play for a national title.
Fun first half, and we're just about set for the start of the second half as we welcome you back to the 2010 McDonald's All-American game here at Columbus in Value City Arena. Bob Wischusen alongside Jay Williams, Quinn Kesnick with us here as well. 110 total points scored the first half. Not a lot of defense, kind of classic all-star game play, but you see the potential that a lot of these young men have. There are some athletes in the building.
Well, of course, guys aren't going to really try to come out here and get stops each and every time as far as defensively, but they are playing hard, and they do have a sense of urgency. They're attacking the rim, and a couple guys in particular did a great job just having fun with it. And that's what this game is all about at the end of the day. You got to have fun and enjoy yourself, and they were able to attack in transition.
I think Harrison Barnes had fun in the first half.
He did. Like you said before, he's athletic, he's explosive, he's a guy that can put the ball down on the ground, a little shake and bake move right there, finish with the lazy left, and then you're going to see the finish by Terrance. Right here, the strong finish by Mr. Jones. And then Tobias Harris delivering the ball to Kyrie Irving, the future Duke point guard in transition. And then the putback by C.J. Leslie. Where's he going to go? NC State, Kentucky. And then the passing ability. Kyrie Irving to Joe Jackson to Tobias. Been a lot of showmanship like here, delivering the ball, making everybody else look great.
As we take a look at some of our pictures from the first half, and obviously some excellent numbers put up. The leading scorer in the first half was Harrison Barnes, and he's standing by. with Quinn Kesnick.
Harrison, how do you best describe the emotion when you first came out tonight in this jersey out on this floor?
Oh, the feeling was great. This crowd has provided such a good atmosphere for us, so I'm glad we can go out there and perform.
In typical Harrison Barnes fashion, you looked at your stats and said, I only have 3 rebounds.
Yeah, that's going to have to change in the second half. We're going to have to get that up to 10.
What's a focal point for your team now in the second half?
We definitely have to defend and cut down on the transition layups.
How do you do that?
We're just getting back on defense and taking good shots on offense.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple formula.
Harrison Barnes. Bob.
All right, Quinn, thanks very much. Let's see if the defense gets better in the second half. What do you think?
That's easier said than done when you're in an all-star game.
Harrison Barnes, as we said, the #1 prospect in our ESPN U Top 100, heading to North Carolina. And Tristan Thompson and Cory Joseph, the 2 Findlay Prep teammates. Cory Joseph still undecided, the 5th best point guard according to our ESPN recruiting service. And Tristan Thompson, the 5th best power forward. He has committed to Texas to play for Rick Barnes.
Like we talked about earlier about the Joseph family, Cory's cousins, Chris Joseph, plays for Syracuse, doing a great job, and his cousin, Maurice Joseph, also plays for Vermont. Cory Joseph's brother, DeVoe Joseph, plays for Minnesota, which could be maybe a little key, maybe a little hint, maybe a little inside recruiting going over there in the family.
22,
Jereme Richmond from the corner, knocks down a jumper. On Pinkston attacks.
And even though he missed that shot, he did a great job of attacking the body of the defender. He's going to have to do that a lot on the next level. May not have that athleticism to finish over the top of you, but he can push his body into your chest, get a little separation, finish at the glass.
Tristan Thompson did just that off the feed from Keith Appling. Now a takeaway by Joseph, and here's Appling ahead of the field, leaving one off the glass for Tristan Thompson. So Keith Appling will be playing for Tom Izzo at Michigan State next season. And Tristan Thompson, as we said, heading to Texas.
Little pass ahead, and then a little finish off the glass by Mr. Thompson. The thing I like about him, he's so humble. He's a quiet kid, and Tristan got a chance to talk to him earlier on today, him and Cory Joseph together. And I said, how do you guys enjoy playing with one another? He's like, we're so good in screen and roll. Cory always does a great job finding me wherever I'm wide open. And he's a guy, he can space the defense as well. Talking about Tristan Thompson, he can knock down the 3. He can put the ball down the ground. He's going to be a great addition to Texas.
Cory Joseph left alone. C.J. Leslie eventually has the rebound. Tries to go coast to coast, tied up by Cory Joseph. And it's a held ball. Unless they call traveling on Leslie.
Yeah. Thanks to jump ball, I think possession went the other way. Also for Cory Joseph, he attacks defensively. He's trying to win this game. I asked him before, I was like, are you just out here to have fun? He's like, no, I came here to win. I came here to let everybody in the country know that I will be arriving next year, and that I have arrived here in Columbus, Ohio.
That time Leslie turned it over, and Tristan Thompson fed Keith Appling.
Keith Appling, a consistent shooter behind the arc, has an aggressive style of play. Him alongside Chris Allen, Draymond Green, Kellen Lucas, Delvon Rowe next year. Michigan State could find themselves maybe back in another Final Four.
Timeout called by the East. Another turnover, another dunk for Tristan Thompson. And Norm Person, the head coach of the East team, unhappy and he called a timeout.
Well, the little guy at 6'2", I say he's only 6'2", even though the program height says he's 6'3". Getting up, showing a little explosion. And he's a fierce competitor. Kellen Lucas went down this year. Obviously, Michigan State back in the Final Four without Kellen Lucas. I think you have a chance to win the whole thing. I think all 4 of those teams in the Final Four have a chance to win. If Kellen Lucas comes back next year along with Cory Lucius. This kid right here, Keith Appling, could be a great guy to come off the bench, could be a spurt player, averages around 27 points per game, and can absolutely light up on the outside.
Coverage of the ESPN Rise Boys National High School Invitational continues Friday on ESPN2 with both semifinal games at noon. Montverde Academy or Montrose Christian will take on either Christ School or Winter Park. Then at 2 Eastern, Oak Hill or Mountain State will take on Findlay Prep or Charlotte Christian. The ESPN Rise Boys High School National Invitational semifinals on ESPN2 Friday. Appling comes up short. Offensive rebound by UCLA's next center, Josh Smith. And he sticks it back up and in.
And that's what you have to like about Josh Smith, his ability to use his body. He understands he's not going to be the tallest guy on the court, but just using his body to carve out space, in that little separation, he's able to find different soft touches at the rim to finish.
Josh Selby now has 11, and Appling blocked underneath, but a goaltending call as Perry Jones' block will count for 2 for Appling.
I don't know about that. It's an all-star game. You got to let that one go. That's for show right there.
Perry Jones heading to Baylor to play for Scott Drew. And I asked him, why Baylor? Well, he grew up in Duncanville, Texas, about an hour and a half away from Baylor's campus. His mom was diagnosed with a heart condition a few years ago. She actually had not flown in a plane in about 2 years, but was cleared to fly to come to Columbus to watch her son play tonight. The first time she's been in an airplane in over 2 years. And he said that he kind of grew up loving the Big 12. If you live in Texas, certainly. Not an accident you're a Big 12 fan. And Baylor was the closest Big 12 campus to his home, and he wanted to be near his mom, and it was kind of a marriage made in heaven. Smith finishes on the break.
I got a chance to talk to Scott Drew yesterday, and Scott said, Jay, out of all the kids I have, this kid has the most potential. And he comes in, he has the long wingspan, he has the ability to knock down shots, but at times, he kind of gets lost on the court. Scott Drew said the next step for him is to develop a dominant disposition on the basketball court. He has all the ability in the world, but he really needs to put forth that front effort to get out there and just say, give me the basketballs. Dominate the basketball, demand the basketball. If he can do that, they're going to be loaded next year. Quincy Acey comes back, Blaisterius Dunn, and Epe Odo down low.
From one big man to another, when we come back, Zoe will join us. Alonzo Mourning, who has become an inspiration to everyone involved with the McDonald's All-American game, in a moment.
We have a tie.
67-63, the West leads the East in the McDonald's All-American game. And Alonzo Mourning, as we said, has become an inspiration here at the McDonald's All-American game. Let's take a look back.
Rebound from Mourning. He's a big rebound. Mr. Mourning right there. Is that a thoroughbred? Is Georgetown going to be good?
And Alonzo Mourning's done a lot of charity work, and he is standing by with Quinn Kesnick.
1988 McDonald's All-American. What's your biggest memory from when you were in high school, Alonzo?
Well, I remember the camaraderie and the athleticism that I had. And just much like these kids here, I remember, just interacting with guys that I competed with during the summer times, and now, these guys are put up on a pedestal as the best in high school, so it was an honor and a privilege to be a part of this game, especially.
This morning for 2 hours, you led the McDonald's Advisory Council, Jay Williams, Jessica Davenport. You talked about some serious issues with both the boys and the girls. What'd you hope to accomplish?
Well, first of all, to just educate them on the fact that, this game is temporary, and to give them some core like benefits of understanding that, education is going to be creating a solid foundation for yourself, because it also creates options outside of basketball, because like I said, this particular life is short, and you got to educate yourself to prepare yourself for life after basketball. So we touched on a lot of different components of preparing themselves for life after basketball.
Yeah, it was fascinating. Legacy, charity, trust. But the thing that stood out to me is your formula for success. It says education plus relationships.
Well, I think life is about relationships. We wouldn't be here. We would not be able to stimulate the growth in our lives without the relationship that we establish. So I encourage them that when they go to their selected universities, to establish relationships, with the board of the universities, the president of the university. There's endless amounts of resources around them. It's just a matter for them to understand that they need to establish these relationships, tap into them, so that when they leave those universities, they'll still have an extension of individuals that can assist them in the rest of their life, in their endeavors and throughout the rest of their lives.
Short term in their lives over the next year, what's the biggest obstacles they face?
Well, they're going to have a lot of people in their lives that are going to be pulling at them from all different directions. And the hardest thing for a young person that is as the financial benefits that they're gonna have, the hardest thing for a young person to do is say no, especially the family members and the friends and what have you. You know, they're gonna have to be challenged in a lot of different ways, you know, to learn to manage that and say no and not spread themselves too thin.
Alonzo, thank you. It was a pleasure to be there, listening to you this morning.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure being a part of it with you as well.
Bob, back to you.
All right, Quinn, thanks very much. Jay Williams, you were there with Alonzo Mourning today as well.
You know, Bob, it was such a great experience to sit next to him. Actually, he's been a role model of mine for a long time and look up to everything he does charity-wise. He has Zoe's Summer Groove, and he gives back to the community of Miami. And a couple of things that really stood out to me that he said earlier on today, he told these kids, you are what you think you are. And remember to keep your circle tight, because now you guys are on a national stage, and in a lot of ways, these kids are treated like celebrities. They have Twitter followings, they're on Facebook, and everybody wants to be a part of their circle. And he said, you are a product of your influences. Keep positive influences around you. And the biggest thing that I said, Bob, said use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. Education is the key that will elevate you, not just in the game of basketball, help you be a smart player, but educate you and help you be successful and elevate you in the game of life. And that's what we're playing. That's the big game that we're playing here. This is such a small part of who these young kids are. The game of life is the game that we want them to be successful at the end of the day.
Take a look at the ESPN Rise player profile for Deshaun Thomas going to Ohio State. He and Jared Sullinger have been roommates all week, getting ready to play together for the Buckeyes. There's Doron Lamb, still deciding between Kentucky, Kansas, Arizona, and West Virginia. He has 10, and then right back the other way, Reggie Bullock is going to North Carolina. Well, you were in their shoes. You obviously have the same experiences, I guess, to draw that Alonzo Mourning has. How much from Alonzo Mourning's era to your era to their era has the hanger-on factor grown?
Well, it's grown tremendously, and I think one of the challenging things for all these kids to deal with is criticism. With Twitter, with Facebook, fans are allowed to be open with their criticisms. And listen, I was sitting there talking to Tobias, and I said, okay, you're going to Tennessee. You're going to have people who are just going to hate you because you went to school at Tennessee. They have no idea who you are as a young man, what you stand for, what charities you work with, but they don't like you because you went to Tennessee. Now, if they get a chance to know you, they can find out how good of a kid you are. But a lot of people aren't going to give you that chance, and how are you going to handle those criticisms? One of the great examples that I think Alonzo talked about is at my accident. I have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis, people making comments about my accident, saying about how he was stupid. But you know what? Okay, fine. I'll take that because I have to live with that more than they have to live with that. If I was a 21-year-old kid, and all these kids are apt to make mistakes, but it's their ability to persevere through adversity that shows about the character of the young men and young women they are going to be. Great quote, great commercial by D-Wade. Fall down 7, stand up 8. At the end of the day, that's what we want them to do. They're all going to face challenges going on to college, going on to the NBA. But life is all about the circle you keep around you. You keep positive people around you. You keep your circle tight, and you work hard. If you work hard in the classroom, if you work hard on the court, you will be successful in the game of life.
Jared Sullinger seems like a very grounded young man, again, going to Ohio State from right here in Columbus because he played for his dad. And his dad certainly did it the right way. His dad spent about 20 years as a varsity basketball coach in Columbus. The first time he ever won a state championship was last season, and he won it with his son.
Well, the thing I like about Jared Sullinger as well, he has that disposition where he wants to dominate. He wants the ball down the blocks. A couple of times I've seen him crack into people offensively from the opposite side, really low to the ground, using that 270 frame and demanding the basketball, saying, give me the basketball down low. Those are the kind of big men that Ohio State can use. They could have used him this year. Right. And I said to him before, I was like, are you going to come in and start? He's like, you bet you I'm going to start. I'm going to move Dallas Lauderdale over to the 4 spot.
Bullock the follow off the miss from Deshaun Thomas. Harrison Barnes certainly getting all of the attention as part of this recruiting class for North Carolina, but Kendall Marshall and Reggie Bullock have flashed tonight, and they're going to be a couple of good ones for Roy Williams. Here's Bullock with the rebound.
I've heard a lot of people talk about Reggie Bullock saying that he could be a better Wayne Ellington. He can shoot the ball deeper than Wayne Ellington can. He can put the ball down on the ground. The thing I like about him the most, he's a fierce defender. He can get low, get in the stance. He's around 195. He can put on a little bit more weight, but he has tenacity defensively, and he will not stop until he stops you.
And there's the range of Harrison Barnes.
He's a guy that can play inside, can play outside. He can mix it up, put the ball down on the ground. These three players could potentially start for this year's team. And with David, Travis Ware coming back, and they're going to lose Marcus Ginger, who's a senior who brings that experience to the table. But I look for Carolina to be right back on top as one of the elite teams in the ACC with these two players coming in.
A couple of guards that are uncommitted. Nice look, Brandon Knight to Ray McCallum, and then Deshaun Thomas finishes at the other end, and a quick timeout called by Norm Person on the East bench to try and put new players in the game. And both teams will substitute liberally. As we take a look at our ESPN Sports Nation best dunk winner, at least in terms of the polling, and 43% said Josh Selby, which I guess is appropriate because Josh Selby won the dunk contest. Let's take a look at least right now, the leader in the clubhouse and what the fans like.
Well, it always
Selby. This might have been the one wanted for him.
Ooh, between the legs off the bounce. They don't call him Showtime Shelby for any reason, but he's 6'3". He has blazing speed on the court. He transferred from DeMatha High School to go to Lake Clifton. You know, he calls himself the Baltimore King, the Be More King. And there's a couple of schools where you can see good potential fits. Syracuse, Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona. He decommitted from Tennessee, but Tennessee has kind of found a way to creep back into the picture. But once again, like we talked about, Bob, a lot of these young men are waiting to see what the likes of John Wall, what the likes of Evan Turner, if they're going to take that step into the NBA ranks before they make their decision.
Again, Josh Selby told us that he will make his decision public at halftime of the Jordan Brand Classic, and that's a game we'll have for you on ESPN on April 17th from Madison Square Garden. So that's Saturday night. If you're interested in knowing where Josh Selby's going to end up going to school, tune in. Foul called on Perry Jones, so we'll step aside. Highlights galore so far tonight, and the 2010 McDonald's High School All-American game.
Ryan Burr in studio. Just a reminder, the NBA is next here on ESPN. Coming up next, 32 minutes from now, it is Carlos Boozer, a 1999 McDonald's All-American. Golden State versus Utah. It's next right here on ESPN. Bob and Jay.
All right, Ryan, thanks very much for trying to do what we can to get the players to loosen up here at the McDonald's All-American game. A lot of tension on the bench, as you can see. And back in 1999, we've got some pictures of Carlos Boozer, the same year that Jay Williams played in this very game. Future teammate, knocking down jumpers, and now doing business in the NBA, and we'll have his game coming up next.
You know, the scary thing about Carlos is I remember working out with him for the first time, and he was shooting jump shots from almost half court. And I was like, man, I gotta get in all the time I can with this guy. I don't know if he's gonna be around. And it's kind of worked out for Steve, who is now an all-star with the Utah Jazz.
Thursday night, ESPN delivers more men's college basketball action. First at 7 Eastern, Jay Williams' favorite team, North Carolina, taking on Dayton in the NIT championship game. And then at 9 Eastern, it's the 22nd annual State Farm College Slam Dunk and Three-Point Championship. The NIT and the Three-Point Slam Dunk Championship. Brought to you by State Farm on ESPN tomorrow night.
And this young man at the free throw line, Patric Young, I've watched him over the past 2 days, and there has not been an offensive rebound that he has not gotten. I mean, he has an endless motor on the glass. And now, I don't think he has the best offensive game. I think he can work on that. He can work on his jump shot. He can work on his face-up game. He has a nice touch, as you can see, but that needs to be developed. But the one thing that you can't teach is effort, and that's what Billy Donovan's going to get, and Patric Young. Him with Vernon Macklin on the backboards. I tell you, there will not be a shot Kenny Boynton won't like with those two guys getting offensive rebounds.
Jones, straightaway jumper is good. So Perry Jones heading to Baylor, hits a jumper. I have to tell you, if I'm Urban Meyer, I might stop by Billy Donovan's practices and see if Patric Young might not be willing to spend some quality time with me. He looks good getting off the bus, as they say.
Imagine him running at your full speed. I'm getting out of the way. I'm not taking the charge, Bob. Not doing it. Sorry.
No question. No one would blame you. Selby lost the dribble into the corner. Josh Smith couldn't save it.
You know, you got to imagine Josh Smith losing about, he's listed as 290 right now. Imagine him losing about 20, 30 pounds and chisel that body up. Kind of a little bit of baby fat on right now, but I mean, just with work ethic, he could be a dominant force down low for the Bruins.
There are a couple of guys in the front row breathing a sigh of relief that he didn't try too hard to save that ball.
Kyrie Irving almost got out of the way.
Midway through the second half, an 83-83 tie, and you'll see the intensity in this game pick up if there's 5 minutes to go and the score is still tied.
But also, I think you get a chance to see the mentality of a lot of these kids. When the game starts to get close, who's going to be the person to demand the basketball? The true characteristics of the winners come out. They want the basketball in their hands to make plays.
Patric Young with the block, and Perry Jones couldn't save it. Comes Cory Joseph from Findlay Prep, suburban Toronto. He grew up in Pickerington, Ontario. Still considering Texas, Minnesota, UConn, UNLV, and Villanova. Possible places for him to play.
Well, Cory also comes from a family of basketball. His father and mother, David and Connie Joseph, both played basketball for Lethbridge College in Canada. His father also coached in Calgary at Eastern Commerce College, Coach Jamal McGlure. So he's had basketball around him his entire life. He has a high basketball IQ, understands how to play the game. Any coach that gets this young man is going to be happy.
JayVaughn Pinkston couldn't hit. Appling double teamed, but gets it out to Cory Joseph. Back to Appling. No good. The future Spartan can't finish. Back the other way comes Pinkston. He'll finish. Get ready, Villanova fans. That's your next star.
Well, I was doing a lot of reading on him online. I read a great comparison. Actually, the person said it is DeJuan Blair with a little splash of Charles Barkley at times, because he has the ability to score the basketball, but has that strong body, has the tenacity on the boards as well. And he's going to bring that toughness. That toughness is something that he's known for. I asked him, what's the one thing you want the world to know about you during this game? I want the world to know how tough I am each and every possession, and Jay Wright could have used that toughness this year.
Kendrick going to Memphis, throws it down, and the East back on top by 2. Joseph couldn't finish. The tip won't go. A takeaway inside, though, by Smith. And finally, Patric Young heading to Florida, able to finish.
Like we said, Patric Young always on the glass. I want to take a second to talk about this Memphis class, though. They're going to return a couple guys. Elliot Williams, if he doesn't come pro, had a really good year in Conference USA. You hope he'll come back. Wesley Witherspoon is going to come back. He decided not to go into the draft. And then you add on this class, a class of great guards. Will Barton, a 6'4", 6'5" guard who can slash, get to the rim. Joe Jackson, a guy who can shoot the basketball. He'll get after you defensively as well. Kind of brings that grittiness from Memphis to the table as far as his swagger. And also Jelan Kendrick, and they have the pieces of the puzzle to get it done in Conference USA for next year.
And a big topic, obviously, when you deal with the McDonald's All-Americans, certainly John Wall here tonight. You can go to ESPN.com, search McDonald's to vote. When should players be eligible for the NBA draft? We've got 4 different choices, and when we come back from our timeout, Jay Williams will weigh in, and as he put it to me earlier today, he has a Doug Gottlieb kind of opinion about this, which means it's going to be a strong one.
It's going to be a strong one.
That's right. There will be no gray area.
No, there will
how
not.
You feel. The air ball thrown up in the corner. Deshaun Thomas. The miss then. And here comes the West in transition.
A lot of
He tries a three and knocks it down.
32, Keith Appling.
Well, Keith did drop 49 in the state championship game. I think the transition for him is going to be, he's been a two guard his entire life. Once he gets up to the next level of Michigan State, he's going to be a point guard, may come off the bench, play behind Kell and Lucas. That's what he's going to think. Will he be able to run a team? And that takes time to understand how the extension of your coach on the floor, understand time and situation, the shot clock, to get the ball in the hands of the right people at the right time, and to think pass first. But he will be a great addition on with Cory Lucius and Kell Lucas and Chris Allen as well from Michigan State. And how good of a job has Tom Izzo done with that team? They use Kellen, and they're back in the Final Four, and they have a good chance to win it all.
Yeah, 6 Final Fours in 12 years, and this might be the most impressive trip. You lose your best player in the Big 12 or the Big 10 Player of the Year, and yet you were able to maneuver your way through this tournament and get to the Final Four. It's amazing.
The thing I like about him the most is that he finds a way to get his kids to believe in the system. There's no great individuals on that team. Yes, Terrell Summers, is a guy that's been exploding lately. Delvon Rowe, also Raymond Morgan down low, but they all play so well defensively together. That's the difference maker. Guys are looking like they're running out of a little wind here, huh?
I think you might need some subs in the game. Jeremy Richmond is able to finish. And Eric Flannery and Carl Kramer on the West bench call timeout, maybe sensing exactly what you were, that play getting ragged with 6:11 to go.
We need to get Alonzo Mourning in the game. We need some defense out there. Zoe, suit up.
We just asked our poll question, so while we have an opportunity, we're going to hear the opinions of Jay Williams. When should a player be eligible for the NBA draft? Most of America thinks after 2 or more years of college basketball, although 34% say right out of high school. Jay?
Okay, here's my thing. I want all the fans at home to think about this. Take yourselves out of the fans' perspective. What's best for the college games? Because I know we all enjoy watching games at home. But if you're a kid and you come from a single parenting home, okay, and you see your mom struggling with jobs, how can you not afford a kid an opportunity to leave to go out of college anytime he wants, have a chance to capitalize on millions of dollars? We'll get back into it when we come out of break, because I'm getting ready to go off right now.
At least we'll use the break to calm you down a little bit.
Give me a cold towel.
And also when we come back, we'll take a look at really what this week has been all about, the experience of the players at the local Ronald McDonald House here in Columbus. Welcome back to the 33rd annual edition of the McDonald Boys High School All-American Game. We're seeing the best of the best in high school basketball, the future stars who spent some time this week finding out the benefit of the game they're playing in tonight. For those who think that the McDonald's All-American Games are just about basketball, think again. As Sunday, the boys teams visited the local Ronald McDonald House here in Columbus. It's located just steps away from the Nationwide Children's Hospital, and this 80-room house provides a home away from home for families with seriously ill children. As Player of the Year Harrison Barnes said, this shows you the game is bigger than any one of us. Proceeds from this year's games will benefit the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio, and Quint Kesnick found out even more about how important tonight's game is.
We're joined by Linda Dunham. She's the chair of the board, Ronald McDonald House Charities. Why is this basketball game beneficial?
It's so beneficial to providing for the families right here in Central Ohio the services of our Ronald McDonald House chapter, making sure that in times of distress, the families have a place to stay, giving them a home away from home, comfort and care.
We're standing in front of a care-mobile. Well, what is this?
This care-mobile, doesn't it look great? Central Ohio, right in Columbus, will be getting one of these vehicles later on this summer. And this is a vehicle that will travel right in the communities where children who might not ordinarily get medical care would have an opportunity to come right up to the vehicle. They can get dental, medical, and health educational services right here. It's a vehicle that over the years has served about 150,000 children each year, saving families about $10 million and making access to health care very affordable and possible.
That's great. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Obviously, that is what this week is all about, raising money for as worthy a cause as you can imagine. And we were talking before the game even about your memories of playing in the McDonald's All-American game and your visit to the Ronald McDonald House.
You know, in 1999, I got a chance to go to Ames, Iowa, and I visited a young kid named Jake. And Jake had cancer, and the next week after I left, Jake had passed away. And Jake wrote me a letter saying how I was one of his favorite players, and he watched me. And it was such a humbling experience in my life, and it impacted me so much because that's what life is all about. It's all about, you know, seeing people and working with them and fighting the fight. Every day we fight a fight, and everybody has a fight to fight. And Jake's fight was cancer, and he fought it so hard every day. But the one thing, as a kid, he had so much fun, and seeing him smile just brought a smile to my face. No matter what problems I was having that day, if my shot was off, it makes you understand and realize how minute the problems we have compared to the bigger scheme of things.
That's Jay Williams. I'm Bob Wischusen. Quinn Kesnick with us here as well in Columbus at Value City Arena. 5:45 to go in the 33rd edition of the McDonald's High School All-American game. The stars of tomorrow putting on a show tonight. Brandon Knight can't hit. And North Carolina guard Reggie Bullock able to outlet to Kyrie Irving, and Irving heading to Duke next year. Comes up short there, though. Numbers now for the West. Three from the corner. Won't go for Lamb. Comes C.J. Leslie, one of the 7 players in the game tonight that have not decided where they're going to school next year. Short on the 3. Bad Melo. The hit ahead to Doron Lamb, who's another uncommitted player, and he lays it in.
Well, there's a lot of running and gunning here. I look at Doron Lamb. I look at that situation at UConn. Ooh,
the lob underneath the Sullinger
with the strong finish, almost bringing the backboard down with that 265 frame.
He'll be doing that on this court next year at Ohio State.
With Doron Lamb, I could see him potentially being a 2 guard since he's 6'4". He has the ability to be a combo guard. He could play both, but him along at UConn could be a great pack, and they could have a great backcourt.
Again, the results of our ESPN Sports Nation poll question: where should players be eligible, or when should they be eligible to enter the NBA draft? Most think after 2 or more years of college basketball, but right behind, in agreement with Jay Williams, right out of high school.
Now, here's my thing. I think there's a misconception with that rule. You know, if you're going to make kids stay in school 2 years, you know, it's going to be great for the game of college basketball. You're going to get a chance to see a lot of kids. You're going to get a chance to see them grow from their freshman to their sophomore year. But I think academically, then you have to make some mandatory rules. You got to keep your GPA over a certain amount. Because I think a lot of times, you know, yes, if kids are going to have to go to school, some of them just want to get to the NBA. And they might take advantage of a basket weaving course or something like that. So you have to challenge them to really make sure that they are getting their education. I don't think there should be a rule. I think a kid should be able to go into the NBA whenever he wants. He takes them for a chance, maybe this 3-year rule. If kids have to stay in college for a mandatory 3 years. So you're telling me a kid who maybe after his first year could be a top 5 pick in the draft, and then his next year it might hurt his knee. He might not get a chance to capitalize on $30 to $40 million. Who are we to tell us fans just because we want to see the game get better on the collegiate level that this kid should not get a chance to capitalize on the opportunity?
Our ESPN Rise player profile on Jared Sullinger. He'll play at least 1 year at Ohio State. ESPN Rise, where high school athletes reach higher. Log on to the new ESPNRise.com for more information. Harrison Barnes thought about an NBA 3. Fades away, tough shot, and it's tipped in on the follow by Terrance Jones. 12 for Jones.
Terrance Jones, just very long, very energetic, gets after it defensively, and also loves offensive rebounds. Led his team in offensive rebounds this year, averaging around 7.5.
Jones takes it himself with a little ball fake. So Terrance Jones still deciding between Kentucky, Oklahoma, UCLA, West Virginia, Washington, Oregon. He's from Portland. And obviously waiting to find out what happens with the Oregon head coaching position.
I asked him, I was like, who does your game remind you of in the NBA? He's like, I kind of look at myself as a Chris Bosh. You know, I can do it a little bit on the perimeter. I can jab you. I can knock down the J. I can also take you in the blocks and really work you down low in the post.
Our final timeout, 100-91. The West has the lead. When we come back, we will take a look at some of the top plays of the 2010
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn
McDonald's game.
to the floor. We're joining us in center court.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the McDonald's High School All-American Game is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Ryan Burr in studio. Let's get you caught up to date on the NBA. Former McDonald's All-American LeBron James impacting the Cavs and Bucks. There's LeBron flying to the basket and good. Cavaliers win it 101-98. Cavs creeping closer to wrapping up home court throughout the NBA playoffs and maybe the NBA Finals. Their magic number is now 2. That because the Lakers lose to the Hawks 109-92. And look at former McDonald's All-American Kevin Durant, 37 points, including 15 of 15 from the free throw line. Just a reminder, coming up next, it is Golden State and Utah. And Darren Williams and company onto the court. We're off to the NBA in under 16 minutes. Jay, Will, and Bob.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Back at the McDonald's All-American game here in Columbus, and that is not what you want to see if you're Bruce Pearl. Number 5 in our ESPNU Top 100, Tobias Harris, over on the East bench with a boot on a broken toe that was aggravated in the first half, and he has sat out the second half, came out with crutches and the boot on.
Well, it didn't stop him from smiling. He always has a smile on his face, and he's always joking around. He has such good character and such good disposition about himself, and he works extremely hard. Like we said before, he wakes up every morning at 5:30 in the morning, runs 2 miles, goes to school, comes back after school, does strength and agilities with his trainer, does that for another hour and a half, then gets up around 200 to 300 shots. He's a workhorse. He lost about 15 pounds, and that's the reason why he's in the position he's in.
And you said he's the character of the group as well.
He's always playing practical jokes on people. I mean, he tapped me on the shoulder before the game. I looked the other way. He was the opposite way. He has that kind of character. He's a great kid.
McCallum stays with it, slips one underneath, and Patric Young heading to Florida throws it down. McCallum still deciding between 5 or 6 different schools, and Florida is on his list. So Ray McCallum could be teammates with Patric Young for Billy Donovan.
Also, his father is the head coach at Detroit. How does that really work, Bob? So it's like, your son comes home and it's like, so how was your day today? Did you talk to any coaches, or what are you thinking? Maybe you should come hang out with your dad at school on campus for a little bit.
I'm just wondering how many official visits he's able to have with his dad before it's an NCAA violation.
Selby for 2.
Josh Selby along too. He's got 13.
And Selby has the ability to knock down long jump shots. We were playing horse today during shoot-around, and he was shooting the same shot from around half court that he was shooting from the three-point line with the same kind of ease. Great elevation. He can spread the defense, but also Selby has the ability to put the ball down on the ground, and you saw the hops he has in the McDonald's All-American Slam Dunk Contest. He can finish over the top of people.
I saw the 2 of you making shots from a ridiculous distance. That a little more high percentage from Perry Jones going to Baylor, but you and he were knocking down jumpers from the edge of that McDonald's logo at midcourt.
No, he was, and I wish I could dunk the ball like that. I had to stick with the jump shots and tap in the backcourt.
Terrance Sullinger picks the pocket of Tristan Thompson. Those two came together in a very high-profile high school game earlier this season when Tristan Thompson's Findlay prep team came to Columbus to take on Jared Sullinger's Northland team, and Sullinger's team won. And right in the face of Thompson, Sullinger knocks down a 3. He's got 22.
And a lot of times when you see big men in high school go through a screen and roll scenario, they never really hit the defender. Well, Jared Sullinger just hit the defender and forced the defender to fight over top for the double team. And like we said, he's a guy, pick and pop, can knock down that long J.
Brandon Knight with a chance for a 3-point play, and coverage of the ESPN Rise Boys National High School Invitational continues Friday on ESPN2 with both semifinal games. The quarterfinals will be all day on ESPNU on Thursday. That's tomorrow, and then the winners will advance to the ESPN Rise Boys National High School Invitational semifinals at noon and 2 p.m. on ESPN2 on Friday.
And on our last play, you got a little taste of how good Brandon Knight really is. He hasn't made a couple of shots here, but he missed his entire sophomore year in 2007 following an emergency spinal cord surgery. But he came back the next year, was perennial all-star, all-state player, and one of the few selected to be National Player of the Year as a junior. Also this year named Gatorade National Player of the Year. Just explosive. Any school's going to be lucky to get that young man.
Speaking of explosive, a little wraparound pass to Perry Jones from Kendall Marshall. So North Carolina finds Baylor. And Perry Jones with a big finish. Down to the last minute. A 2-point game.
The West trying to hold on.
Let me see somebody buckle down defensively. Get in the stance, Selby. Let's go. Lock up.
Wow. 9 for 3. Way off the mark. The follow inside by Tristan Thompson. He can't hit. Sullinger the rebound. And about a 4-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. Who cares about that? Deshaun Thomas finishes the alley-oop, and we're tied at 104.
Well, how about that, the Ohio State? Jared Sullinger brings down the rebound, and Deshaun Thomas with the slam on the other end. Two Ohio State Buckeyes going at it.
Shot clock turned off, and now some strategy. We're tied at 104, and the West spins their last timeout. And before we get a potential game-winning shot, let's check in with Dave Pasch. It's the NBA's turn next on ESPN from Salt Lake City, where Deron Williams and the Utah Jazz are making a run at the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Tonight they face Golden State and Rookie of the Year candidate Stephen Curry. Now back to Bob Wischusen in Columbus. All right, Dave, thanks very much. So the West calls their last timeout, and they will draw up a play in the huddle. Tied at 104, but we have gone back and forth to arrive at this tie.
Well, Kendall Marshall doing what he does best, just delivering the nice, easy bounce pass, and Perry Jones the third knocking it down, and then the alley, and a strong finish by Mr. Thomas, showing the Buckeyes why he's coming to town.
Defensive intensity picks up as well as Brandon Knight brings it across with 14 seconds to go.
Are we going to take this game to overtime, Bob? McDonald's game going to overtime?
Knight wants to get it to Harrison Barnes. Cannot. Knight from the corner knocks it down with 3 seconds to go. Sullinger lets it fly off the mark. And Brandon Knight hits a triple to win the game for the West.
Well, he's showing you why he's the number 3 rated player as far as ESPNU top 100. Hasn't shot the ball extremely well all night, but still with the confidence to knock down the game winner.
They wanted to get it to Harrison Barnes, and when that was shut down, Knight, after the flop by Kendall Marshall, stepped up, hit the 3, and wins it for the West.
Kendall Marshall trying to take the charge, but Knight just keeping it cool, calm, and relaxed, and knocking it down.
Brandon Knight, the highest rated player still to be uncommitted in the ESPNU Top 100. Third-ranked player in the nation. Still deciding between Kentucky, Florida, Kansas, UConn, and Syracuse. And he hits the game winner in the 2010 McDonald's All-American game. Harrison Barnes, though, the #1 player in our ESPNU Top 100, signed with North Carolina. Co-most outstanding player with the #2 player in the Top 100, Jared Sullinger.
Harrison Barnes.
Terrific game, and it turned out that down the stretch, the best players in the game stepped up.
You know, all these kids came out here and they played hard, and that's all you can ask of them. Whenever you get a game with a bunch of All-Americans on the same court, sometimes the games can get a little lethargic, a little out of hand. But you really have to credit these kids. They came out here tonight, poured their heart and soul into the game, and had a good time.
The West beats the East 107-104 in a terrific 2010 edition of the McDonald's High School All-American game. That'll do it from the Value City Arena here in Columbus. Coming up next on ESPN, NBA action between Golden State and Utah. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Jay Williams and Quinn Kesnick, I'm Bob Wischusen saying so long from Columbus. Now we go back to our studios and Stuart Scott.